Breaking news from around your world on this Monday, April 15th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. The measles outbreak in the United States has grown to its second highest level in a quarter century. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said Monday there have been 555 cases reported so far this year in 20 states. That number has risen by nearly 200 in just 2 weeks, as many Americans refuse to get their children vaccinated for religious or anti-government reasons. The current level represents the most measles cases in 25 years. The greatest outbreaks have been seen in New York, Washington State, New Jersey, and California. The World Health Organization said Monday there were more than 110,000 measles cases worldwide for the first 3 months of 2019, an increase of nearly 300% over last year. New York City has declared a public health emergency and required some to have their children vaccinated or face a $1,000 fine. Many of the measles cases last year were concentrated on Orthodox Jews who traveled to Israel, where a large outbreak occurred. Officials said 82 people brought in measles from other countries last year, the most number of imported cases since 2000. Ukraine and the Philippines have also seen large measles outbreaks. The Russian government said Monday it severed contact with NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, halting a relationship that's been deteriorating for years. Russian Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko said Moscow no longer has any diplomatic contact with NATO in civil or military matters. He said the move is an answer to NATO ending contact with Moscow on military issues. The relationship has been strained since Russia forcibly annexed the Crimea Peninsula in 2014. Tensions flared again last year when Russia captured Ukrainian soldiers and military vessels in the Kerch Strait, a move Western governments said violated international law. Grushko said NATO and Russia had been cooperating under a normal working relationship before now. The remarks come as the United States and Russia are also experiencing strained relations, although President Donald Trump has made repeated efforts to normalize diplomacy. U.S. military officers have said a lack of diplomacy between Moscow and Washington could lead to military escalation. Chinese bombers and warships conducted drills around Taiwan Monday, the latest military maneuvers near the self-ruled island that a senior U.S. official denounced as coercion and a threat to stability in the region. The United States has no formal ties with Taiwan, but is bound by law to help provide the island with the means to defend itself and its main source of arms. China has stepped up pressure on Taiwan, whose president, Tsai Ing-wen, Beijing suspects of pushing for the island's formal independence, a red line for China, which has never renounced the use of force to bring Taiwan under its control. China's People's Liberation Army said its warships, bombers, and reconnaissance aircraft had conducted necessary drills around Taiwan on Monday, though it described them as routine. China has repeatedly carried out what it calls island encirclement patrols in the past few years. The death toll from storms that swept across the southern U.S. over the weekend climbed to 8 on Sunday. The storms spawned tornadoes and flooding. 3 children were among the dead, 2 of them killed in East Texas when a tree fell on a car they were riding in. Tornado warnings were issued for parts of Georgia and North Carolina Sunday after twisters damaged some areas in Mississippi and Alabama earlier in the day. Tornadoes also destroyed dozens of homes in East Texas on Saturday. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of people are still in need of aid after Cyclone Idai battered Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi in March. More than 1,000 people have been reported killed by the storm, the flooding it caused, and the heavy rains before the storm hit. The World Bank estimates the affected countries will need more than $2 billion to recover. Cyclone Idai made landfall in the night of March 14th near the port city of Beira, bringing heavy rain and wind. 2 major rivers, the Buzi and the Pungi, burst their banks, submerging hundreds of villages and leaving bodies floating in the water. More than 2 million people in Africa have been affected by the storm and its aftermath. Electric authorities began removing spent fuel rods Monday from the damaged reactor at Japan's Fukushima power station, 8 years after its core melted down in one of the worst nuclear accidents in the world. Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, began using a remotely guided robotic arm to remove the rods from the storage pool where they've been since the 2011 accident. Monday marked the beginning of the utility's mission to recover a total of 566 nuclear fuel assemblies. The entire process is expected to last 2 years. The presence of fuel rods in reactors number 1, 2, and 3 are preventing TEPCO from scrapping the damaged reactors. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe toured the Fukushima complex Monday for the first time since 2013 to survey reconstruction progress. His visit came after his 2020 Olympic minister resigned last week over controversial comments related to the disaster, which was triggered by a massive tsunami. WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange tried to use Ecuador's London embassy as a center for spying. That's what Ecuador's president, Lenin Moreno, told the Guardian newspaper. Assange entered the embassy in 2012 to avoid being sent to Sweden for questioning on rape allegations and ultimately to the U.S. to face charges related to revealing government secrets. Ecuador last week rescinded Assange's permission to continue hiding out in the embassy, and British police arrested him. Assange is now vowing to fight extradition to the United States, where he's accused of conspiring with former Army intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning to hack into a classified government computer. Actress Lori Loughlin and her fashion designer husband, Massimo Giannulli, are pleading not guilty to charges they took part in the sweeping college admissions bribery scam. That's according to court documents filed Monday. The couple's accused of paying $500,000 in bribes to get their daughters admitted to the University of Southern California as crew recruits, even though neither is a rower. They were among 50 people charged last month in the scandal that has embroiled elite schools across the country, including Stanford, Georgetown, and Yale. The parents are accused of paying to rig standardized test scores and bribe college coaches and other insiders to get their children into selective schools. Fellow actress Felicity Huffman and 12 other parents announced last week they have agreed to plead guilty to a single charge of conspiracy to commit mail fraud and honest services mail fraud. Prosecutors added a money laundering conspiracy charge against Loughlin, Giannulli, and more than a dozen other parents who are still fighting the case, increasing the pressure on them to plead guilty. Each of the charges Loughlin and Giannulli face call for up to 20 years in prison, although first-time offenders would get only a small fraction of that if convicted. The world's largest plane took flight for the first time over the weekend. Built by rocket launch company Stratolaunch, the 500,000-pound plane was a dream project by the late billionaire and Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. The giant aircraft, which has twin fuselages, 6 747 jet engines, and a 385-foot wingspan, took off from the Mojave Air and Spaceport in Southern California. The plane is designed to fly at an altitude of 35,000 feet, from where it can launch rockets, which can then boost themselves into orbit around the planet, though this test flight did not include launching any rockets. Northrop Grumman plans to use the plane to launch its Pegasus XL rocket into space. The flight's pilot, Evan Thomas, reportedly said the experience was fantastic and the plane mostly flew as predicted. Tiger Woods won his first major golf tournament since 2008 on Sunday, taking the 2019 Masters title with a 2-under par final round that put him 1 stroke ahead of 3 other players. 4 more players finished 2 strokes behind. It was Woods' 5th Masters victory. He now trails only Jack Nicklaus, who has 6 green jackets in career Masters wins. Woods started the day 2 strokes off leader Francesco Molinari, who led much of the day before giving Woods an opening with double bogeys on number 12 and 15. Woods sealed his years-long comeback following injuries and an off-course scandal with birdies on the par 5 13th hole and par 5 15th, and another on the par 3 16th that was nearly a hole-in-one. And that's your update for this Monday, April 15th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening and for supporting this podcast with your generous donations. I hope you have a wonderful week.